What is up, guys? So today we are going to be talking about this thing on my wrist right here, the Galaxy Watch 3. Now, I actually wasn't originally planning on getting one because I'm a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to smartwatches in terms of how useful they're going to be in actual everyday use. But the opportunity presented itself when I got this, the Galaxy Z Fold 2, which, by the way, review is coming, so stay tuned for that. But basically, Samsung, with the pre-order of this device, they were offering for an extra $200 the Galaxy Watch 3 on my wrist and the Galaxy Buds Live, which together is like a $600 value. So to me, that was like a no-brainer. If I liked it, I could keep it and use it, or if I didn't like it, I could just sell it and get my money back very easily. So it was pretty much a win-win situation. And I'm really glad that this opportunity presented itself, because even though I am a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to smartwatches, I was willing to try it out, and I was actually really intrigued by the notification thing and the health tracking. So let's start this off by talking a little bit about the design. So Samsung went for a rounded design rather than the square design of like the Apple Watch or some of the other stuff like the Fitbits. And to be honest, I think it's okay, but it doesn't look great to me. It kind of feels like they're trying to cling on to the past while at the same time going for the future in a way that's not really cohesive in a lot of ways. And normally I wouldn't put this much emphasis on what a tech device looks like, but because a watch is something that you're going to wear and people are going to see you in, I think to a lot of people it will matter. And don't get me wrong, I think that the rounded design of the watch is pretty cool, but I also think that it loses a lot of functionality due to that design choice. For example, text is very hard to read with a rounded display. Or, I mean, not hard to read, but it's hard to put a lot at the same time. With the rounded display, it's hard to fit more than like 1 or 2 lines of full text before it starts getting cut off by the bezels. And I think it just makes it a little bit harder to view a notification at a glance without having to mess with a watch. I also think that the actual casing of the watch could have been designed a little bit better. Like I said, it kind of feels like they're trying to cling to the past while still being in the future at the same time. Like on this larger variant around the bezel, it has these kind of grooves on the edges that look decidedly old school. They also decided to go with a more traditional watch strap system, which they have a little pin on the underside of the strap, which you can undo to change the strap. And if you're like me and don't have very long fingernails, it's actually kind of hard to remove and put on a new one. And it's a little bit of a problem because the strap that it comes with is a leather one. And I don't like to work out in leather straps just because I feel like I'll sweat on them and ruin them. So I switched it out with a rubber band. But it's just so hard to switch between the two that I just leave the rubber band one on the whole time, which is kind of a bummer because I do like the leather strap look. And the watch is actually very comfortable as well. I have no issues wearing it all day and even at night when I sleep. Pretty much the only time I take it off is when I charge it while I'm in the shower and stuff like that. So other than my little complaint about the watch face being round, I think that using the watch was actually really quite nice. So basically there are 4 ways to interact with the watch. So there's a home button, a back button, the actual touchscreen, and the rotating bezel. And the rotating bezel is super nice. It has really satisfying clicks when you turn it, and I often find myself just playing with it when I have nothing else to do. And overall, I think it's an extremely intuitive system and the learning curve is almost non-existent. I put it on and just started using it right away. And the performance of the processor and just navigating through the UI using apps and stuff was really good as well. I rarely ever notice any lag at all. I have the always on display feature on just because I like to be able to glance down at my wrist and be able to see what time it is without having to raise it. And even with that feature on, I can comfortably get through a full day of use with about 50% left. But in my opinion, I feel like as long as it lasts a full day, I don't really have any issues with it, just because I don't really find it difficult to find a time to charge throughout one single day. And luckily, charging this thing is actually really convenient as well, because it uses standard Qi wireless. So you can use the charging cradle that it came with, or you can just find any Qi compatible wireless charger and it'll charge through that. So one of the things I was most excited about with the smartwatch is the health and fitness tracking. So this watch has pretty much all the sensors that you would ever really need, at least the ones that I can think of. like heart rate sensor, ECG, and blood oxygen. And I was actually really impressed with some of the functionality, like the running tracking. It'll track your heart rate throughout your run, and it'll let you know like when you're not working hard or when you are working hard, and I think that's really cool. It'll also measure stuff like how your form is and tell you a little bit on how to improve it. Personally, I'm a very amateur runner and I kind of don't really know what to do with that information, but I think if you do know what to do with that information, it would be very useful to have in improving your form and just improving your sport. It says it has automatic workout tracking, so you can just start working out without having to fiddle with the watch beforehand, but I found that this feature didn't really work. I had to like triple check that the feature was on, and even if I started doing stuff like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, the stuff I was talking about earlier, nothing would happen. Like nothing would start, it wouldn't track or anything. So one of the other features I was a little bit disappointed with was the Bluetooth. So you should be able to connect a pair of Bluetooth earbuds to the watch so you can go on a run or something without having to bring your phone along, which I was actually really excited about just because I got this, the Z Fold 2, and it's a heavy phone. So I would rather not have to bring that with me on my runs. But I tried it for one or two runs and it just didn't really work. Like I tried to connect the headphones to the watch and it was working for about 10 minutes and then it just cut out for no reason and just stopped working. So for the rest of the run, I was just kind of running in silence and it was really awkward. And other times it would say that the watch was connected to the earbuds, but when I actually tried to play sounds through it, it would just go through the speakers instead of the earbuds. So I'm not really sure if I'm just doing that wrong, but it was just really frustrating and I just don't really want to use that feature anymore. I was also really excited about the notification functionality of a smartwatch, which I was a little bit disappointed with and impressed with at the same time. I just thought it'd be really nice to look at a notification on your wrist without having to fully pull out your phone, which could be considered rude if you're in a meeting. But I just kind of think that the application of this feature wasn't the best that they could have done. So basically how it works is that when you get a notification, your wrist will vibrate, and then if you raise your wrist to look at it, it'll show the notification, but if you don't, it won't. So I guess that's good so random people can't look at your wrist and see what's going on, but also it means that you still have to raise your arm, which looks pretty rude as well. And when the notification finally does show up, it'll show the logo of whatever app that caused the notification for like 3 whole seconds, which is really annoying because if you're just trying to glance at it real quick, you have to wait 3 seconds and then you have to actually look at the notification. So in total, you're probably going to be looking at your wrist for like 5 or 6 seconds. And if you're talking to somebody or like in a meeting or something, like I said, that would be pretty rude to be like, yeah, you see what I mean? Like it's really awkward. And like I said earlier, because the screen is rounded, you're more than likely going to have to rotate the bezel just to be able to see the whole message. And just kind of psychologically, having the vibration on my wrist makes me want to check my notifications more, which could be a good or bad thing just depending on how you view that. But I do have to admit that in certain situations, I'm actually really glad that I do have a smartwatch and I'm able to glance at the notification without having to pull out my phone. So at the end of the day, have I changed my mind about smartwatches? Well, probably not. Now, I do think that they are nice to have and they have their uses, but I also definitely don't think that they're a necessity for pretty much anybody. Like it has those health sensors like the ECG and blood oxygen, but it also says that you shouldn't rely on them too much. So I don't really know what the point of that is. And being able to check your notifications on your wrist instead of your phone has its advantages, but also has its drawbacks as well. But I think if you're an Android user and you already know you have a use for a smartwatch, I think this one is a really good one to look at. Like I think as far as smartwatch stuff goes, it does a pretty good job at most of the functions, like reading notifications, performance, and battery life. And seriously, this rotating bezel is crazy nice. And I would almost consider getting one of these just for that feature alone. But I think if you're a skeptic about smartwatches like I am, this one isn't going to change your mind. Anyways, that's all for this one. Remember to smash that like button. And if you enjoy content like this, think about subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. Like my review of the Galaxy Z Fold 2, which is coming next week. So stay tuned for that. As always, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.